Congresswoman. I saw you on the stage last night, and it was a night, obviously, probably most remembered for the female voices we heard, most notably the First Ladies. What did you think of Michelle Obama last night?
Oh, I think she's terrific, and I think she's a wonderful role model, a wonderful mother, a wonderful wife, and is very devoted to her husband, her children, and to moving this country forward. She's picked very important issues to champion for the family, for nutrition, for healthy diets, healthy children, and I think she's terrific.
You've seen and heard that Bill Clinton's speech tonight, we've heard unvetted, we've heard that there may have been some subtle suggestions for some position points from the Obama campaign, but he's going to say what he's going to say. What do you hope he says?
Well, I hope that he speaks to the success of his administration. He was an incredibly successful president. We created 22 million new jobs. We balanced the budget. We left this country with a surplus. Then Bush came in, got us into 2 wars, and grew the deficit through the roof. When President Obama walked in, this country was shedding 800,000 jobs a month because of the policies that the Democrats put forward with President Barack Obama. We've had 29 months of job growth, creating 4.5 million new jobs. And I believe that President Clinton will speak about the economy and how we need to work together to solve this. Under President Clinton, we had a 3-legged stool. We had, when he came in, we had a deficit of $450 billion, and everybody thought this was through the roof. We now have it over $1 trillion. Our deficit is over $1 trillion. We have to make adjustments to bring this into line and to bring down our debt. And he stressed cuts, which we're doing. He stressed investments. You can't cut your way to prosperity. You have to invest in education and our infrastructure and high-speed rail and all these different areas. And so I just feel that he'll talk about the success that he had. Now, under President Obama...
Do you think it risks of being overshadowed? Some have said here, you remind people of the good times here, surpluses and obviously high employment, and now you look to today, they're going to say, different stewards, different results.
Well, you had a different situation there, sure. And we had more Democrats that could support President Clinton with his policies. President Obama's policies have been very, very similar to President Clinton's, but they've been stopped by the Republicans. They have stopped the only thing they're supporting is cuts. And if you see in Europe, all they're doing is austerity. Our recovery has been much better than Europe's, and I believe it's because we are doing more of a 2-legged stool. We're still continuing investments in our infrastructure, education, high tech, and other areas that will grow our economy. I believe that, and the Republicans have stopped any revenues coming in. It's only fair that we all be part of the solution. I believe every American would give anything to go back to the Clinton years, and when we were growing the economy, growing jobs, and that involved being able to reduce our deficit, reduce our debt. And that had to include revenue also, and they have refused to include revenue or investments. They're only doing austerity and cuts. And every economist will say you can't grow the economy by just cutting it, cutting it, cutting it. You need a balanced approach. I think he will talk about the balanced approach he had and the balanced approach that President Obama is trying to put in place. But you can't pass it unless you have Republican votes. The legislature is totally dominated in the House by Republican votes. They can pass with items without without one single Democratic vote.
Criticisms that this president hasn't been a good enough friend to Israel, are they fair?
I believe he, like most Americans, supports Israel and certainly supports Israel's independence, their right to determine their future and to protect themselves. I believe that he has supported Israel. We have continued aid to Israel. We've increased aid for special projects such as Project Dome, that shoots down the missiles on the border on the Gaza Strip. It's a joint American-Israeli project for safety. And I believe he does support Israel.
Should he have weighed in, though, on the settlements and other issues that a lot of folks in Israel believe should have been kept certainly domestically, rather than have the President of the United States weigh in?
Well, that has been the consistent American policy. And he's the same policy that I believe Bush had, and his father had, and Clinton had. Yeah.
On the subject of Vito Lopez, Obviously, I've heard you and others say that Vito Lopez should step down, as Speaker Silver has said, but how about Speaker Silver's role and the payments, especially with taxpayer dollars? Are you satisfied in how he's handled the situation, and some of the calls for him to step down for leadership, are they warranted?
Well, the Speaker has called, as well as the governor, and I believe many members of Congress and others, and I certainly support a investigation by the so-called JCOPE organization that is going to look at corruption and problems and challenges in state government. And that report needs to come out. I don't know what happened then. I don't think that there should have been payments. I don't think there should be payments in the future. I believe everything should be transparent. But there's been a huge change in how the legislature and other organizations respond to sexual violence, to violence against women, to harassment. It did not even become a crime in America until 1994 with the Violence Against Women Act, which we passed on the federal level, making this type of activity and actions a crime. And the Assembly, I thought, compared to the experiences I had when I worked for the Assembly years ago, reacted very swiftly. They had a report that came out from the Ethics Committee that was chaired by Danny O'Donnell that was detailed, it was legal, it was specific, it was well researched. And this report came out, and within 2 hours, the Assembly leadership moved to strip the chairman of his seniority, of his position, ordered counseling, banned any young people from working for him. I thought it was a very swift action within 2 hours. I thought that was commendable. Mm-hmm. How fast could you move? Within an hour? Within 10 minutes? Sure. But 2 hours, I thought, particularly...
I think it's more the settlement payments where the questions were, where the monies came from and who approved them and how it was done without complete transparency. Did you have any fault at all with that?
Oh, I do have fault with that. But again, they are approaching it, I believe, in a reasonable way. They have called for an investigation. Okay. I don't understand why this happened. And often there have been conflicting news reports from different papers on what happened. I don't know. So it's hard for me to condemn or go after someone when I don't know the facts. So I think that all of us should step back, take a deep breath, and wait for a reasonable governmental review that understands what happened. I don't know what the legal things are. I don't know who said what to whom. I don't know what the considerations were. I do know that taxpayer money should not be used for this purpose. And if I were a member of the Assembly, I'd be putting in a bill banning it in the future. I'm sure there'll be a number of bills that will ban it in the future. Everyone has said that they don't support this. The Speaker has said it. He said he's wrong. So what more do you want?
Last question from me, and it has to do with the overall theme. Do you sense that Democrats here really understand how difficult the next 60 days are going to be? And by that I mean the fundraising kitty is in Romney's favor. Special interest money we know is going to flow heavily in the last couple months. And right now the polls show this neck and neck. Maybe there'll be a bump after Charlotte, we'll see. Does everybody get just how much of a toss-up this election is, you think?
Well, I believe Americans realize that we must win this election. Democrats must win the election. Never in my lifetime has the divide been so deep and strong and different. The parties are oceans apart. And I would say in New York State, no state benefits more from the federal policies than New York State, and often the federal policies are based on policies that first passed in the great state of New York. And I refer to the health care bill, I refer to the whole pension system, I refer to Don't Ask, Don't Tell, I refer to the ability to marry whomever you like and whoever you love. The women's rights movement was born in the great state of New York and continues to be the leader in the nation on women's rights. And I would say that the legislature responding to this ethics report probably responded faster than any legislature in the country probably would have responded, and it was a big change from when I used to work there years ago. And those of you cover Albany, you know how slow it is. It's like, can you make a decision? You've been debating this, for 10 years. Make a decision. So it's usually very, very slow. So quite frankly, when I read that they acted in 2 hours, I said, wow, that's really quite something.